What's going on, guys? ChillisFM here, and today I'm showcasing a team featuring Mandibuzz in the Season 6 Great League. This team was a lot of fun to play and it has some really great coverage. Make sure you stick around after the battles if you want to see some possible substitutions in case you don't have a Deoxys or Venusaur that you want to use. In addition, we'll be taking a deep dive into this team's strengths and weaknesses. Alright, jumping into the matches, the first matchup is against a Whimsicott lead. Because I run Air Slash on my Mandibuzz, I'm able to actually win this. It's going to be very close. He's going to almost charm me down and then they're going to throw their energy. So I am going to have to give up a shield, but then I'm going to get to that second aerial ace and either take them out or get their second shield. Alright, so let's see what they decide to do. They decide to go down. What do they have next? They bring in Swampert and I go down immediately so they don't get any kind of farming in. I'm able to threaten the Swampert with Venusaur and then they switch into their own Mandibuzz. Very interesting. Their Mandibuzz is running Snarl, which will be doing super effective damage, but not a whole lot to Deoxys, and it helps them charge energy more quickly. I'm going to be getting to these Rock Slides and spamming them out as quickly as I can. As you can see, they're at a second charge move. I was expecting it to be a Shadow Ball. I don't know why they threw a Shadow Ball the first time and then decided to go Foul Play after that, but whatever, we will take it. And then I'm almost at the next Rock Slide, but they do get to the next Foul Play. So that takes out Deoxys and Venusaur comes back in, but really the game is already over. I'm going to land this Frenzy Plant on this Swampert, and then there's nothing that their Mandibuzz can do because if they're not running any kind of flying attack, they're not running Air Slash or Aerial Ace, they're running Snarl, Foul Play, and Shadow Ball, so that's a GG's. Moving into my second matchup, I'm up against Dennis, and they bring a pretty tough lead for me. It is a Skarmory. Skarmory wins against Air Slash Mandibuzz in all even shield situations. However, you can flip the no shield if you're able to sneak in an extra Air Slash at any time. I was able to do this when he threw the first Sky Attack, so now I know as long as I don't shield, I have a chance of winning this. This matchup is a great example of when Snarl would be a better fast move on Mandibuzz. Still, I prefer Air Slash as it provides better coverage for fighters, which are pretty common in the lead. But like I said, with Air Slash, you can still flip this matchup as long as you sneak an extra Air Slash in. So I throw this last Foul Play when I'm at 1 HP. Let's see if they decide to give up a shield or go down. They decide to go down and then they bring in a Azumarill. One bubble takes me out. Now I'm in a really good position. They didn't get any kind of farm on Azumarill. I'm able to line up Venusaur with Azumarill and then they swap out into Machamp. I go ahead and threaten a shield and then I swap into Deoxys. Deoxys is going to be eating these Rock Slides. I'm not really too worried about protecting Deoxys because I know Venusaur can handle the back. I go ahead and throw a Rock Slide before he gets to his next Rock Slide. I could have tried to go for Thunderbolt, but I wanted to make sure that I got at least the chip damage in. If not, I got the shield and they gave me the shield. So Deoxys goes down and Venusaur comes back in with 2 shields and they realize it's over. They back out, so that's a GG's. Even if I wouldn't have snuck through the extra Air Slash at the beginning, I think I still would have been able to win that matchup based on team comp, but it would have been a lot more close. Moving into my third matchup, I'm up against a Bellawesome lead. This is the second time I've seen this season. A very interesting pick, but I like the spice. They do have Dazzling Gleam on this Bellawesome, which does a lot of damage to Mandibuzz, but because I have Air Slash and Aerial Ace, I'm going to be able to handle it no problem. And then they bring in Toxicroak, which is also weak to flying type attacks. So it's a pretty safe assumption at this point that they're also weak to Mandibuzz in the back. Otherwise, why would they have brought in Toxicroak? I go ahead and shield and I'm going to get to this next Aerial Ace, but they do swap into Jirachi. This is a great catch on my opponent's side. They will resist Aerial Ace, whereas Foul Play would have done super effective damage to them. Still, I'm able to bring in Deoxys and farm up to a Thunderbolt. I shield their Doom Desire and then I throw my Thunderbolt and they let it go through. That's great for me. Now I'm able to farm them down and Toxicroak is all that is left. Since Toxicroak is their final Pokemon, I'm pretty confident they're going to shield no matter what I throw, so I just go for the Rock Slide. I get the shield. Perfect. Now they're going to throw a charge attack at me. More than likely it's just a Mud Bomb, and it is, which does not take me out, and I'm able to get up to another Rock Slide. But you know what? They did that sack swap on me, so I'm going to sack swap on them as well. I catch the Mud Bomb on Mandibuzz and then I bring in Venusaur. I actually meant to just bring in Deoxys and finish it off, but I misclicked. Whatever, this is a GG's, there's nothing they can do. They dynamic punch my Venusaur. I think they're just having fun with it at this point. But yeah, that's a GG's. Well played to my opponent. Moving into the next matchup, I'm up against a very common lead. That's right, it's a Azumarill. But that's why I have double counters for it in the back. They're staying in, which is very suspicious. I'm not going to throw the Thunderbolt immediately because I'm expecting them to try to catch it. And I miscounted completely on their bubbles. I thought they were at Hydro Cannon. They had actually only thrown 6, so that should have told me it was a play rough. That's okay. They bring in their own Deoxys, and I throw Thunderbolt the first time. Rock Slide is actually the more energy efficient move, just slightly. It doesn't matter a whole lot, but yes, you want to go Rock Slide in the mirror matchup. Because I had such a strong energy advantage, I am going to be able to get my shield back, which is great, but I want to also make sure that I win switch. So I'm going to go ahead and use my second shield, and then I'm going to try to farm them down, but I realize I'm not going to be able to get there, so I go ahead and throw an additional Rock Slide. This should be taking them out unless they shield. Yes, it takes them out, and then comes in Azumarill. Because I overfarmed on Deoxys, I'm able to get to this Thunderbolt. This is big. I get the shield back, so now they don't have shield advantage, and then they swap into Snorlax. That was a very big misplay on their part, because now I'm able to align Mandibuzz with Snorlax and have Venusaur in the back to deal with the Azumarill. So here we are in the battle of the bulky Pokemon. I have the advantage here though, because everything I'm throwing at Snorlax is doing neutral damage, whereas I'm resisting his licks and only the body slams are doing neutral damage to me. I'm going to continue to spam out these foul plays, and we should be taking him out pretty quickly, able to farm him down after that foul play. Now I have some energy, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it at Azumarill, and then I'm going to have Venusaur to come in and be able to finish off Azumarill. So here's Venusaur. I know Azumarill does have energy, so I gotta be careful. If he's able to get to double Ice Beam, that's gonna be a GG's. But no, they throw Play Rough. More than likely, that one was running Play Rough and Hydro Cannon, which is a very risky moveset. So I gotta give them props for trying that moveset, but it did not work out for them in this situation, and that's a GG's. Alright, so 4 wins down, 1 to go, and my opponent brings in Medicham. This is a favorable lead for me. Medicham has Ice Punch, which would be doing super effective damage to me, but not a whole lot, so nothing really to be concerned about. They switch into Galvantula. Galvantula is one of the worst Pokemon for this team to see. Players that run Galvantula often shield it at least once, and pretty commonly will give both shields to it as well. I get the first shield with Mandibuzz, and then I shield their lunge, and then I switch into Venusaur. They're still able to lunge me before I throw my first charge attack, but I go ahead and go with the Frenzy Plant since it charges a little bit quicker. It is resisted, but it should take them out from this range. And then they throw a second lunge at me. I go ahead and give up my second shield. I want this thing out of here. So yes, the next Frenzy Plant does land, and even though it's resisted, it takes it out, and Medicham comes back in. They're going to be throwing Ice Punch at me. That's fine. I can bring back in Mandibuzz and immediately throw off this Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace isn't a very hard hitting move, but because it is super effective, it still chunks on the Medicham. They are able to get to Ice Punch, it won't be taking me out, and then I'm going to go ahead and swap into Deoxys to get ahead on energy. They bring in a Azumarill, so that's going to be a GG's. All I have to do is land 2 Thunderbolts, and even if they have Hydro Pump, it's not going to be enough to take me out, though it would make it pretty close. So they go ahead and throw their charge attack. Is it the Hydro Pump? No, just a Play Rough, so definitely a GG's at that point. This last Thunderbolt will be taking them out, and that's going to be a 5 out of 5. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Stick around, we're going to be looking at this team's biggest strengths and weaknesses, and then we're going to be talking about some of the substitutions you can do for both Deoxys and Venusaur. Diving into the strengths and weaknesses of this team, we're going to be utilizing pvpoke.com. If you're not already familiar with this website, it's a very good tool to use when you're building your teams. It can tell you what's strong in the meta, what your team is weak to, and help suggest other mons as well. The first section I look at is the overview section. It's going to give you a letter grade for coverage, bulk, safety, and consistency. Of course, you want to get as close to all A's as possible, but I don't let 1 or 2 bad grades completely deter me from using a team. I've ran teams with F's in some areas, and they've been very successful. The second important section is the meta scorecard. This tells me which Pokemon I can beat with my team and which ones I'm going to lose to. On this grid, X's are good. A small X means that you're going to win, but it's going to be somewhat close, whereas a large X means that you're for sure going to win this matchup, almost undoubtedly. Likewise, the open circles means that you are probably going to lose that matchup, but it will be close. Whereas the filled in circles means that it's going to be a hard loss for your Pokemon. The first thing you might notice is this team doesn't have a true answer for Galarian Stunfisk. However, if you can properly shield the Earthquake on either Venusaur or Deoxys, you can flip that matchup. The Pokemon this team struggles the most with is flyers such as Altaria and Skarmory. As you can see, Altaria has 3 open circles and there's not a whole lot you can do to change that. Similarly, Skarmory has 1 regular open circle, a closed circle for Venusaur. Venusaur has no chance there. And then a small X for Deoxys. So if you can line it up with Deoxys, that's great. But normally Skarmory is either in the lead or in the back. So it's hard to line up Deoxys with Skarmory. Moving down to the potential threats section, we can see a few more Pokemon that might give us trouble. You can see we have no true answer for Altaria, Frostlass, Stunfisk, Galvantula, and Swalot. The only 2 of these that are really common is Altaria and Stunfisk, which we've already evaluated. And then Galvantula is somewhat prevalent, but not really common enough to really change the team for. After that, I do look at the Pokemon that I have 2 losses to and only 1 true answer to. But the only one that I see that's really common here is Skarmory. Occasionally we still see Registeel, but outside of that, really nothing too common. Number 16, Alolan Marowak, that is common somewhat, but I don't see a ton of them lately. It's kind of strange. So not really anything to be too concerned about. And Deoxys can do super effective damage to Alolan Marowak with the Rock Slide, so there is some coverage still there. And finally, let's look into what Pokemon we can replace Deoxys and Venusaur with and still have a very strong team. If you don't have a Deoxys, the first replacement I would suggest is Hypno. Let's look at how Hypno's coverage is. So I've substituted Hypno with Confusion, Fire Punch, and Thunder Punch. You can see that it drops coverage down to a C, but we still have A in bulk, B in safety, and A in consistency. As far as potential threats, Registeel is here with 3 open bubbles. You still have Altaria as 3 open bubbles and Skarmory as well as 3 open bubbles. Slightly worse than it would have been with Deoxys, but still playable, right? At potential threats, nothing really changes here. Again, Altaria, Skarmory, Galarian, Stunfisk, those are your most common ones. Outside of that, none of these open, no coverage zones is something that's very, very common. If you're not looking to run Hypno either, we can also try Medicham. Medicham, you're going to want to run Counter, Ice Punch, and Psychic on. And let's see what the scorecard says for this one. So we get B, 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 A. So a little bit less bulk here, but the coverage is better than with Hypno. Safety stays the same and consistency stays the same as well. So this way we do have a true answer for Stunfisk, as those counters will be doing super effective damage. We are able to cover Registeel, which Hypno was not able to cover, but we now lose to Mantine. Mantine's not super common, I wouldn't be super concerned about that. Altaria is still 3 open bubbles. At least Medicham does have Ice Punch to help with this, but we do still lack coverages. And Skarmory, same thing, we have 3 open circles. Looking at potential threats, nothing really that's catching my eye. Deoxys defense, we do only have coverage with Venusaur at this point, but outside of that, nothing too eye-catching. My final suggestion for a Deoxys replacement would be Azumarill. I know it's really meta, a lot of people don't like running Azumarill at this point, but it does do the job here. So coverage is a B, bulk is an A, safety drops down to a C. It's not anything that I'm too concerned with, but we will talk about that here in a second. And consistency is still an A. We do have a good answer for Stunfisk now. We still have 2 answers for Azumarill. Altaria, now we do have an answer for, because of Ice Beam does double super effective damage to Altaria. And then Skarmory as well, since we have Hydro Pump. This is a win for Azumarill, so that is good. At least we have some answer for the Flyers. However, we are double weak to electric type attacks now. So Galvantula is going to be a little bit more troublesome. You can see Magnezone is now in the red zone. Again, I don't think that that's common enough to really be worried about it, but that is one of the things that is causing our coverage to drop down to C. Outside of that, there's nothing really too concerning. So even though coverage says C, I wouldn't be too concerned. I think Azumarill still has a lot of play with this team. Moving into replacements for Venusaur, the most obvious one is going to be Ivysaur. Ivysaur can serve almost the exact same purpose as Venusaur. Venusaur is just slightly better. A lot of times I run my Ivysaur over Venusaur because of My Venusaur is just such bad IVs that my Ivysaur can completely keep up. So Ivysaur is going to have Vine Whip, Power Whip, and Sludge Bomb. And you can see the overview ratings here stays the same, BA, BA. As far as the coverage, everything's really going to be the same. I don't know if there's anything that is flipped by running Ivysaur instead of Venusaur. So nothing really to cover on this one. Our second potential replacement is Meganium. Again, the rating is BA, but Meganium is going to struggle even more with the flyers. Specifically, I'm talking about Altaria because we have nothing we can throw at Altaria. Whereas Venusaur and Ivysaur have Sludge Bomb, Meganium has Earthquake as its second move, which is not going to do anything to Altaria. So that's where we're going to lose out. It does have a little bit better of a matchup against Stunfisk because if you can land that Earthquake, it does super effective damage. And it is a little bit more bulky, I believe, so it does handle Azumarill even better. The only additional notable threat here is Whimsicott. Meganium again does not have Sludge Bomb, which would be doing double super effective damage to Whimsicott, so we lose that matchup now, whereas Venusaur would win that one. The final replacement I would suggest is a Rainy Cast Form. Rainy Cast Form can handle both Stunfisk and Azumarill, and it's also going to provide some coverage for Skarmory, why it does still lose to Altaria. As far as potential threats, the only answer for Deoxys Defense is Deoxys Defense here. Not really too concerning in my opinion. And then let's see down here, Galvantula Clefable, so we do lose to a Charmer again now, and we lose to Lantern as well. Not really that common, not anything that I would be too concerned about, but if you see it, it's going to be very difficult to handle. Alright, that's all for today. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe. This is ChillisFM wishing you good luck in your battles.